Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm your host, Ricky Green, here for Tide Talk Sports. And yes, we are a football channel, an Alabama Crimson Tide football channel, but we will not FOG. So if you are a football-only gump, you might want to sit this one out, because in today's episode of Tide Talk, we're talking about Nate Oats and the Alabama Crimson Tide men's basketball program. Tough loss yesterday against Oklahoma. But this is a team that has absolutely been on a tear in the Southeastern Conference, leading the SEC, and has their eyes on an SEC championship. Today we'll be joined by Drew DeArmond from ESPN Radio, talking Alabama men's basketball. You're not going to want to miss a single minute of today's episode of Tide Talk, and we'll get started right now. All right, I want to start this episode of Tide Talk off with a question for our viewers. Get in the comment section right now and let me know what you think. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Will Alabama bounce back after the loss to Oklahoma and get a big win over LSU in their next game? Y for yes, N for no. I'll pin this down in the comment section, and I can't wait to see what you all think about that. All right, not going to keep rambling on here. In the first part of today's video, got an extremely knowledgeable and very special guest for today. Very excited to have Drew DeArmond, host of Talking Ball out of Huntsville, Alabama, and a member of that ESPN radio network. Drew, appreciate you joining us today on Tide Talk. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over to you, and you give us what you got. Roll Tide.
Ricky, really appreciate the time and being with you on Tide Talk Sports tonight to talk about Nate Oats and this Alabama basketball team. Just an amazing run so far. The best conference start since the Rocket 8 of 55-56, who went a perfect 14-0 that season and finished 21-3, but ran roughshod through the SEC, led by Jerry Harper, who, of course, is an SEC legend, averaged 23 points and 21 rebounds a game. I still think he holds the record for the all-time rebounder in the history of the Southeastern Conference, to show you his greatness. And also, of course, it harkens back to 86-87. Alabama started 8-0 that year, went 16-2, and won the SEC regular season and tournament title. The last time Alabama has done that, of course, in 2002 is the last regular season championship, and they lost in the finals in a very hard-fought game to Mississippi State and Rick Stansbury, led by Mario Austin, who should have been in an Alabama uniform, but that's another story for another day. But this Crimson Tide team, Ricky, to me, is the deepest I've ever seen at Alabama. It's been an amazing run, because through this run where they're 14-3 and now 9-0 in the SEC through the first half of the conference schedule, it's not been easy. There has been some definite bumps in the road, some injuries. Herb Jones has now had a finger and a back, but as Coach Oates says, if he can walk, he's playing, and he's done an outstanding job. Almost a triple-double the other night as they sweep Kentucky for the first time since 88-89, and that's very significant, though. We know UK is probably not an NCAA tournament team this year, but they're still very talented under John Calipari. And so it's been great to see Alabama perform well against the Big Blue Nation, who is always the standard in basketball. But Alabama has got a very good chance now with a 3-game lead to win the SEC outright regular season championship and be a very high seed. That 2002 team was a number 2 seed, lost in the second round of the tournament to Kent State and Antonio Gates, future Hall of Fame NFL tight end. This year, I think with the depth, this Alabama team, I'll be disappointed if they don't at least get to the Sweet 16. Of course, it's all going to depend on draw and how you're playing and health. But this is an Alabama team that's very resilient, very hard-nosed. The other night against Kentucky, they win without Alex Reese for much of the game. He was banged up. As we know, Jordan Bruner has been out since the first game against Kentucky near the end when he suffered the meniscus injury to his knee. But he's looking like he could be back in the next week or two, which would be huge for Alabama. He was really starting to get comfortable with his new teammates. And so we'll see if he can return. And also they've been able to withstand absences from James Rojas, who really hadn't been himself the last couple games, and then the medical situation, which I believe was pink eye, from Javon Quinterly, who missed about 3 games himself. So it's been a very deep team. A new guy stepping up every night. The other night, Jaden Shackelford against Kentucky, outstanding with 21 points. He has been tremendous at times. John Petty, a Player of the Year candidate in the SEC, nearing 300 3-point baskets made, the all-time record at Alabama. He's, of course, from my city. I've grown up, kind of with him in a way. I've watched him mature as a young man, watched him from 9th grade on, and he's become an outstanding player for Nate Oats in Alabama. And so hope his play continues. This is a huge opportunity tomorrow morning against Oklahoma at 11 a.m. now on ESPN because the Sooners under Lon Kruger, a Hall of Fame coach, are red hot themselves, coming off wins over Kansas at home and then on the road at Texas, though Texas did not have Shaka Smart. This would be a huge resume-building win for Alabama, who is continuing to climb up Joe Lunardi's bracketology. As we said, they're a 2 seed right now. They could even begin to get 1 seed consideration if they can continue on this winning streak. I don't expect them to go undefeated through conference play. They've got a tough road trip to Missouri. They've got LSU at home next week. They've got some tough games coming up. They've got Auburn to end the regular season in Coleman Coliseum with Sharif Cooper. They're a completely different squad. That was a great game, great win for Alabama, 94-90 on the road in Auburn earlier to start when the streak started. But again, I think Alabama has a chance to go, though I wouldn't be surprised 17-1, 16-2 when you look at the remaining schedule. But if this team can stay healthy, it's going to be a fun time to be a Crimson Tide basketball fan. And we just really appreciate you allowing us to be on. Everyone can connect with me at Drew D977ESPN. Or, of course, at 977ESPN on our Twitter account for our radio station. And you can see all our content at 977ESPN.com. Scott Tyson and I bring you Talking Ball. We talk a ton of Crimson Tide. We are a new Crimson Tide affiliate this year from 7 to 9 a.m. every Monday through Friday. And we want you to continue the great work with Tide Talk Sports. You and Stacy Blackwood are great guys and cover the Crimson Tide in a class way. And we just appreciate the time talking some Tide hoops. This Bama team can make a deep run. They just need to continue to stay healthy and get healthier. And of course, Nate Oats, a grinder, outstanding job of coaching. The SEC Coach of the Year easily this year. And we want to continue to see this great run from the Crimson Tide. But we thank you, and we'll continue to be following Tide Talk Sports on the YouTube channel. Outstanding job, my friend. And we hope to speak with you again soon. But we'll throw it back to you and roll Tide.
All right, Drew, excellent stuff as always. Drew DeArmond is absolutely one of the best in the business when it comes to covering Alabama athletics, and it was an honor and a privilege to have Drew join us on Tide Talk today and shine a little light on this Alabama men's basketball program that I believe is absolutely poised to make a deep tournament run. This Tide Alabama basketball team right now is beat up. They need to heal up. They need to get a little bit of rest and kind of refocus here as we move back into conference play. I definitely believe that this team has what it takes to win the Southeastern Conference regular season championship and quite possibly even win the SEC tournament as well. I'm Ricky Green for Tide Talk Sports on the Alabama Football News and Rumors channel on YouTube, presented by Chat Sports. And we'll see you next time. Roll Tide.